Good morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Senator Amy Marcos grilled officials of her brother, President Bongbong Marcos, during a Senate hearing yesterday. Marcos questioned whether Duterte's arrest was premeditated.
Isinuko natin si Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa dayuhan na para bang wala siyang sariling bayan, na para bang hindi na natin kayang humusga sa sarili nating tahanan. Since when did the Philippines become a province of The Hague?
Government officials, including Justice Secretary Boying Rimulya and National Security Advisor Eduardo Año, denied any prior coordination with the International Criminal Court. Rimulya also emphasized that individuals who violate international humanitarian law are a different matter entirely, regardless of the Philippines' membership in the ICC. Now, the Senate has yet to decide if another hearing is necessary.
We did not lift a finger to help them.
We have never spoken to them. We surrendered an individual to the ICC. We did not surrender as a country, but he was surrendered due to a warrant of arrest issued by the ICC through the Interpol.
Meanwhile, the palace rebutted Senator Amy's remark during her opening statement. Palace Press Officer Angelo Castro said the Philippines never wanted to be a province of any country. Castro also reiterated that the administration was only honoring its commitment to Interpol. Castro also stressed that Duterte's arrest was legal, contrary to what was alleged in the hearing.
Hindi po natin ninais na maging probinsya ng kahit anuman dahil po tayo ay isang independent country. Hindi po natin ninais na maging probinsya din po ng Fujian, China. Never natin inisip yan na maging probinsya tayo ng anumang bansa.
Actually, may mga legal luminaries. So, mainit eh. Legal luminaries were refuting the claim of Senator Amy na how could you say we are a province of another state or country when the International Criminal Court is not a state or a sovereign country, it is a court, di ba? Therefore, there was a warrant. It's not like hiningi ng isang country ang isang former president para kasuhan doon. Hindi naman ganun yun. International Criminal Court covers international law.
And then, nagkaroon din ng, medyo heated na debate, di ba, doon, tungkol doon sa usapin nung arrest warrant, di ba? Kung ito ba ay red notice ba or diffusion? Kasi pinipilit at that time ni Senator Amy Marcos during the hearing yesterday na magkaiba. Oh yes, I understand, magkaiba yung diffusion sa red notice, pero ina-explain nga sa kanya kahapon ni Secretary Boying Rimulya na it's actually the same. Kasi dun yung diffusion pala, meron din pala silang mga
color
codes.
Tsaka ang nag-explain nito aside from Secretary Boying Rimulya, yung sa from Transnational Crimes Division.
Yes,
oo. Ang difference lang merely is when you say red notice, you plaster the wanted picture or the wanted info all over.
Sa website.
Website. Bahala na kung sino mag-pick up. Pero yung diffusion, red diffusion, yung wanted diffusion order, means that you'd send it to a few states who may be involved in capturing this person is wanted. Ganun lang difference daw niya.
Yes. So, para lang hindi din makagawa ng iba or hindi makatakas or whatsoever
yes,
yung sinasabi nila. So, talagang naging mainit yung debate nila dyan sa hearing kahapon. According to Senator Amy Marcos, they have yet to do a parang anong tawag yung summary dun sa nangyari dun sa hearing yesterday. Pero hindi rin sure kung may isa pang magiging hearing after this.
Parang there was another side that said it seems like the line of questioning, regardless of how efficiently it was answered at times daw, na direkta, inuulit-ulit ang same question over and over again. Parang they're trying to hear a soundbite or parang may gusto silang kunin na hindi naman yung kabilang panig hindi naman nagbabudge o dumudulas. Parang may hinihintay o hinahanap silang sagot.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Na pinipilit.
And at some point, nag-grill nga din nila si CIDG chief, 'di ba?
Yes,
Torre.
si Torre.
Sa sinasabi nga nila na bakit hindi mo pinapasok si VP Sara nung hinahanap siya ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte.
Well, I could give it to that na siguro sana pinapasok mo na lang, bigyan mo na lang, anak naman tanggalin mo na yung pagka-vice president President, tanggalin mo na rin yung counsel dahil may 3 counsel na siya sa loob.
Tatlo na
Alam
nandoon.
naman natin, officially, hindi naman lawyer ni former President Duterte si VP Sara, pero anak niya yan. And he is going to be, at the very least, detained for a long time. So, pending na hindi pa makabiyahe sa Netherlands, Hague, si VP Sara, papasukin mo anak para makapag-usap,
Yes.
makapag-billing si Pangulong Duterte. I mean,
Ano
he's,
yung mga
oo,
gagawin?
kasi 79 years old already.
Well, apparently, no?
Judgment call niya yon.
Yes, of
Oo.
course. At saka, surprisingly nga, umappear during the hearing itong si Vice President
Oo,
Sara Duterte.
oo.
Diba, via Zoom.
Wala siya sa original list eh.
Yes. Tapos yun nga, sinasabi nga niya na kaya umuwi din si daddy niya, si former President Rodrigo Duterte, and knowing, diba, na haharap muna siya sa local court
Yes, oo.
bago siya madala sa International Criminal Court. Pero that didn't happen because according nga dun sa mga napag-uusapan, dun sa mga legal experts, at sinasabi nila na I think parang nag-boomerang yung pag-alis
Sa ICC.
ng Duterte administration sa ICC. Bakit?
Kasi he was expecting, former President Rodrigo Duterte was expecting, first yung red notice, he was expecting that. And then hindi niya akalain about Article 17 of 9851. So he was expecting extradition. Kasi yun ang nakalagay sa ICC. Rome Statute that the way to capture or bring somebody to the ICC court is kailangan
Go through
dumaan
the local
extradition, go
court.
to the local court. But we are no longer a member of the
Yun ang
ICC.
problema.
So therefore, sabi ni Secretary Remulla, hindi tayo makikinig sa statute na yan. Rather, we are looking at Article 17 of Republic Act 9851 which says it's either I surrender you or I will
International humanitarian law.
or dadaan ka sa process or extradition.
Yes.
Yun lang.
Oo. So, surrender yung pinili
So, nag-boomerang daw.
Nag-boomerang kasi
Hindi ko po opinion
hindi,
yan.
Even ano kasi, 'di ba? Even retired Justice Carpio said that.
Oo.
Na yes, pwedeng dumaan talaga dapat sa local court bago dalhin sa ICC yung arrest warrant. And apparently, mangyayari lang 'yun kung miyembro pa tayo ng ICC, but hindi na nga tayo miyembro ng
Tsaka clarification sabi ni Attorney Buntuyan ba yung kanina?
Yeah, oo.
Pag may extradition, haharap ka sa, in this case, yung sa Interpol, kailangan sometimes haharap ka sa court, but in this case daw, even if iharap mo sa court daw si Pangulong Duterte, ang mangyayari is hindi nila pwede i-deny yung surrender to the other nation. Ang gagawin na ng court dito sa Philippines is to establish, are you former President Rodrigo Duterte whose name appears on this warrant? Yes. Okay, then extradition is approved. Pero hindi nangyari yun dito. Kaya ang nangyari is doon siya humarap. 'Di ba? Binerify yung kanyang identity doon.
Yes, yun yung nangyari
Kumbaga,
noong March 14.
Oo, hindi nang ginawa dito, ginawa
Doon na
doon.
lang.
Oo. So yun ang na-bypass dito. If ever may issue, yun ang na-bypass just to identify na kung ikaw nga ang itatransport bago ka umalis. But iba kasi yung kaso like yung nangyari kanila Teves, 'di ba, na dininay kasi iba naman klaseng extradition yun.
Mamaya pag-uusapan din natin yan. Pero yun nga sinasabi din ni Vice President Sara Duterte na I think pupunta yung kanyang nanay doon. Di ba?
Oo,
Si Miss
for the birthday?
Zimmerman. Hindi ko alam kung
Birthday ba?
sa mismong birthday or sa 23 kasi March 23 there will be a parang protest also ng mga pro-Duterte doon sa the Netherlands before the birthday of
Paano
President
kaya sila
Duterte.
Hanila at sila Kitty hindi pupunta?
Hindi ko alam eh. Pero si VP Sara, yun ang sinabi niya. And then, yun nga, sabi niya, tuloy-tuloy din naman yung magiging trabaho niya as VP Sara, as Vice President of the Philippines. Ang problema nga lang kasi inaayos doon, as long as ayusin niya muna yung legal team ng tatay niya doon.
Yeah,
But speaking of Vice President Sara Duterte,
Yeah, Vice President Sara Duterte claimed that the arrest of her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, was politically motivated. She also admitted the possibility that her father may not be able to return home following his arrest. Here's the report.
Vice President Sara Duterte attended the Senate hearing on the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte via video conference on Thursday. The probe was led by presidential sister and Senate panel chairperson Amy Marcos. During the hearing, VP Sara maintained that her father's arrest was politically motivated and constituted extraordinary retention as there was no valid warrant from a Philippine court.
For an arrest to be lawful, it must be carried out pursuant to a warrant issued by a Filipino judge of a Philippine court. Nasaan po ang warrant of arrest na inisyu ng hukuman ng Pilipinas? Wala. Without a valid warrant from a Philippine court, this was at best a warrantless arrest. Even by ICC standards, the former president should have been brought before a Philippine judge to determine the validity of his arrest before he was handed over to a foreign court.
She also accused the administration of President Bongbong Marcos of using government resources and the International Criminal Court to, quote, demolish the opposition.
Alam naman natin lahat at alam nila na mali ang ginawa nila. Ginawa nila yon just to demolish political opponents. This is all about politics. The administration is using government resources, the ICC, to demolish the opposition.
Shortly after the hearing, the Vice President held a press briefing. She acknowledged the possibility that her father may no longer be able to return to the country following his arrest.
Sa totoo lang, wala talaga akong nararamdaman. Hindi ako galit, hindi ako disappointed. Nothing at all. Kasi pointless naman na mag-harbor ako ng feelings about what happened. Hindi na siya maibabalik. Hindi na mababalik si Pangulong Duterte sa Pilipinas. So what we should do as a country is move on from what happened.
She also addressed questions about a possible traitor within her father's circle.
Hindi ko matawag siguro na traitor, pero sigurado ako sa dami ng tao doon sa loob ng kwarto na yon ay meron talagang nagsasabi kung ano ang pinag-uusapan doon sa loob. Kung kanino nila sinasabi, hindi ko alam.
Meanwhile, VP Sara thanks Senator Amy Marcos for leading the inquiry. She added that she may return home in April after assembling her father's defense team.
Another question. The biggest question here of all these issues is, kung hindi kayo nag-away ang unity team, maaabot ba tayo sa ganito? Plus, kung hindi daw, also another big question, we were talking about it, na-mention natin, paano kaya kung hindi nag-rant si VP Sara in those press cons that she had, scathing press cons about cutting the head of the President Marcos, throwing the body of former President Marcos sa dagat? Would all of this have happened? Diba? Parang...
Pero kaya lang kasi, diba, at the end of the day, ito talaga, we have to look into deeper perspective pagdating dito sa usapin ng extrajudicial killings. Kasi parang na-overshadow yung yung victims, diba?
Let us remember, hindi po ang administrasyon ang nag-file nito mga kaso. It's the... I'm not speaking on behalf of the administration. What I'm saying, if you take a look at it, 2016 all the way to 2019, ang mga nagpadalo ng kaso is the families or the pamilya ng mga victims of EJK. Bakit sila? Bakit hindi daw dito? There are records in Davao that they attempted, not Davao, in southern area, that they attempted, a lot of families attempted to file cases. Even here in Metro Manila.
Actually, nabanggit nga
that they will provide
DOJ Secretary.
That will provide Senator Amy.
Yesterday.
Nagpa-file daw ng case pero hindi umuusbong.
Walang pumapansin.
Because number one, walang blotter. Diba? So pupunta daw sila sa police, magre-report ng wrongful death, ayaw i-blotter. May mga issue ng ganon. May mga records daw ng ganon sila Secretary Remulla that they will furnish. So I want to see that. I mean,
yes.
I want not if see, but I want to hear about it, diba? So kung ganon nga, so at that time there was maybe a failure of the justice system for the victims,
during the Duterte administration. Even may may spill over under the Marcos administration, 'di ba? Kasi tinitingnan din nila 'yan na hindi rin pa masyado. Pero
but they came out na They came out.
Yes, yung sinabi nga ni DOJ Secretary yesterday na ngayon mas
Naglabasan
medyo umu-okay daw.
Ang problema, walang police report.
Yun ang problema.
Tsaka yung mga karamihan sa mga wrongful death daw, tinag nila as cardiac arrest. Diba?
Pero may mga butas ng bala.
May mga bullet holes. Tapos sabi ni Raquel Fortun, when she tried to do autopsy, tapos tinignan niya, cardiac arrest, pero may mga gunshot wounds. Diba?
Ngayon, ang makikita na lang natin dito, for sure, sinabi naman din ng through FPRRD's legal counsel na si Nicholas Kaufman, na they will raise this issue. Diba? Yung wrongful arrest, diba? And of course, they will also raise yung issue ng interim release. Ang problema nga dyan, sabi ng ibang mga legal luminaries, na baka daw talaga mahirapan sila FPRRD dito sa hiling na to. And if ma-release man siya doon, it will be, yun nga, interim release, doon lang within the
within the area.
Netherlands. And the only way that he can go home in the Philippines is if he is acquitted.
Oo. So, ako, okay lang. I mean, let him go around because he's 8 years old na yung mama eh.
There are
And then,
certain conditions why would they accept ang interim release. Pero syempre, aapela yan ng mga
kasi,
those who filed complaints against
pero
the
ang
Duterte
conditions is
cases.
one, if he is not a threat. So, I don't think he can be a threat anymore given na he's not a president anymore. It's number two, most of the families are here in the Philippines at secured yung iba sa Netherlands. So, wala naman
At kung
access.
meron siyang impluensya sa magiging
Wala.
diba,
Kasi-
testimony sa mga
wala na siya doon
witnesses.
Tapos
etc.
number two, flight risk. He's a high-profile person. It's so easy to shut down the borders of in the Netherlands, and he's so identifiable. So, given his age, tsaka yung condition, just let him out during the, di ba?
Actually, may nakita nga akong mga ibang balita. Of course, yung mga, even before pa, yung mga usap-usapin na humingi daw ng asylum si Pangulong Duterte sa sa China, pero hindi pinagbigyan. And yung mga nababalita natin na mga pulis sa Davao at that time was only parang, anong tawag doon, na talagang nilik nila yung yung merong pulis doon sa Davao
Yes,
to make sure na decoy, parang
It was a
ganon.
tactic daw of Torre because ang fear daw ni General Torre is baka umuwi si PRRD.
Mahirap kasi if umuwi siya sa Davao, that's his
Yeah.
bailiwick. Baka mahirapan silang kunin
And
siya.
pero may justifiable cause because you have to remember daw si FPRRD had more than 3 or 4 bookings, mga 5 or 6 bookings. So
oo.
hindi ma-determine kung which booking he would take. So if he went home to Davao, ang hirap daw i-secure niyan because that is his bailiwick. And he has a lot of supporters there. So
Kaya nga sabi nila, 7,000 na police nandoon, 'di ba? Parang sayang naman yung resources,
so
etc.
deterrent nila 'yon. So
Yun ang sabi ng mga sources, ng mga balibalita. Syempre, di pa natin yan makonfirm.
Actually, ang pinaka-ideal daw time.
And they made sure daw the Hong Kong police escorted him to the airport to make sure that he will be back here in the Philippines.
To go home.
So,
Tsaka,
yun yung mga,
ang reported time daw na supposedly na favorable kay FPRRD to go home, he wanted the 3 o'clock flight. I think it was together with the Vice President dapat doon. But he decided to go earlier. Because doon daw pumapasok yung, yung bulong ni Judas o yung halik ni Judas na may nagsabi, umuwi ka na ngayon o gano'n. Yun ang nila.
Kaya nga, di ba, nire-reiterate yan ni Senator Amy Marcos yesterday during the hearing na imposibleng sinasabi ninyo na 3 a.m. nyo lang nalaman tong warrant na to. Kasi doon daw nakalagay sa diffusion na upon the coordination with the Philippine government. So, this is not just the 3 a.m. Sabi niya, pinagplanuhan ito. And then there was a moment na nagkaroon ng meeting ang cabinet officials in a room. Yun nga sinasabi ni DILG Secretary John Vigremulla na they were talking based on a rumor.
No, ang context ganito, paano kayo nalaman 3 a.m. when you met at March 10 before the notice came out? Pero sinilinaw nila, nag-meeting kami because nataranta sila when they saw the statement of President Duterte na may warrant of arrest. So they met. And then true enough, when they coordinated noong 11, lumabas na yung arrest, they met again and they planned it.
So that's their official statement. Kasi under oath sila dun,
Yeah, but they have an action plan already in place. Matagal na kasi may protocol naman yan.
Hindi man agad-agad
may protocol in place na yan. What if scenarios yan.
Grabe. Actually, it is already a week after ma-arresto si FPRRD. It was last Friday, we were here when it happened. Diba?
Basta let us not forget yung innocent victims. I'm not talking about yung mga tunay na naglaban. Pero yung mga innocent victims ng EJK.
Alright, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Now, we will have on the show, let's talk to Attorney Ferdinand Topacio regarding the decision of Timor-Leste on the extradition case of former Congressman Arnulfo Teves. We have him via Zoom. Good morning, Attorney. Good morning from the Philippines.
Yes, good morning, and it's always a pleasure to be in your show.
Attorney, thank you for joining us. Of course, we'd like to ask about yung recent decision po ng Timor-Leste on kay former Congressman Teves. Ano po ang mangyayari ngayon now that there's this decision? Is this final, Attorney, para malinawan po tayo lahat?
My counterpart counsels in Timor-Leste have informed me that this is a final as of the moment because it is based on constitutional grounds with respect and in relation to the constitution of Timor-Leste.
Okay. So, Attorney, I would like to ask, what were the major turning points of this case that led to this decision?
I believe that we were able to prove sufficiently that the extradition of Congressman Teves to the Philippines will result in him undergoing some form of torture, inhuman punishment, harassment, or risk to life and physical safety. And that was based on the testimony of witnesses, including actual persons who were intimidated, threatened, and tortured by the police and the military during the investigation of the Digamo murder, and the sworn statements of those accused in this country who claimed that they were also tortured and who later on recanted their testimonies when given the opportunity to secure counsel of their own choice, as well as expert testimonies from certain persons like Attorney Salvador Panelo and former Human Rights Commissioner Wilhelm Soriano, who testified as to the current political atmosphere in the Philippines and the great likelihood that such torture or inhuman treatment will be given to Congressman Teves, which is anathema to the Constitution of Timor-Leste and which very explicitly prohibits extradition under such circumstances.
Now, Attorney, that this decision has come, if you're privy to any information about, plano na po ni former Congressman Teves, next step niya po? Does he plan to file any cases back here, or does he plan to go home?
At this point, going home would not be in his best interest, considering how the present government appears to be using all the resources at its disposal to stifle political dissent and politically liquidate the legitimate opposition. So he will have to stay out there until such a time that he will be able to get a fair shake, which will not be attainable under the present state when the executive branch is heavily corrupted.
Yun nga po nung March 19 po kasi, bago po lumabas itong decision nito, umattend po ng isang forum itong si DOJ Secretary Crispin Remulla, and he somehow hinted daw na meron parang corruption ng justice system ng Timor-Leste. Your thoughts on that? And kasi ang DOJ, they were surprised and disappointed, of course, with this decision.
Ayan po ang problema when you have a justice secretary and a spokesman na bagito who have not seen the inside of a courtroom. At those are the breaks, as we say. Kaming mga seasoned lawyers, alam po namin yan. You may be consistently losing in the lower levels of the judiciary, but ultimately, you can win at the higher levels. It has happened to us before. Yung mga kaso po ni Pangulong Arroyo, na hinandel ko po at ni First Gentleman, we consistently lost in the lower courts, but ultimately we were vindicated in the Supreme Court. The same thing happened to the tax case of former President Erap Estrada, which I also handled. We lost at the level of the commissioner of the BIR, but we were exonerated at the level of the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Philippine government no longer appealed the judgment to the Supreme Court. So ganun po talaga. Ang problema po kasi hindi naman mga trial litigators itong mga nasa DOJ, kaya hindi po nila alam. Panay-puri sila sa gobyerno ng Timor-Leste, at kapag nananalo sila, then things do not go their way, they insinuate corruption. That's very unseemly. Secretary Boying Remulla should know that. That's very unseemly for the Philippines, which has diplomatic relations with Timor-Leste, to be bad-mouthing its justice system. Pagkatapos ngayon, nananakot siya. It will have serious consequences daw for Timor-Leste in their bid to become a full-fledged member of ASEAN. Hindi naman si Remulla ang nagseset ng foreign policy ng Pangulo, which makes you wonder whether he is talking on behalf of the president, or he's just talking off the top of his head.
He even mentioned po na supposedly may pressure sa Timor-Leste because they wanted to become one of the members of ASEAN.
Well, if there is any pressure being brought to bear on the government of Timor-Leste, it is coming from Secretary Remulla. Inamin po niya na several times pumunta siya roon. Kinausap niya yung Pangulo ng Timor-Leste, si Mr. Ramos Horta, and which is really improper considering that what Remulla was doing then was trying to influence the president of Timor-Leste to exert pressure on the judiciary. And under the Constitution of Timor-Leste, as it is under the Constitution of the Philippines, the judiciary is independent. So kung may pressure, si Remulla po nang pe-pressure niyan, very clear yan. So huwag na sanang balik na rin. That's being duplicitous.
Now, to take this opportunity as well to ask you about other matters, I hope you don't mind.
Ay, wait lang.
Wait,
Tatanong ko muna kung nakausap niya muna si Congressman Teves after this decision.
Okay.
Kamusta po siya at ano po ang kanyang naging pahayag regarding this decision? Attorney? Attorney, can you hear us? Apo. Attorney? Apo,
Yes, opo.
Kamusta po
Medyo
si
delayed lang po.
Okay.
May connectivity problems.
Okay.
Ako yata where I am. Sa sobrang lamig yata, pati yung connection ay gininaw.
Nasaan po ba kayo?
Yes, I've talked to my client, of course, right after the good news was broken to me by my counterpart lawyers in Timor-Leste. And of course, he is in high spirits. He was crying and thanking the Lord above for helping him in his quest for justice.
Yan. So at least taking this opportunity, Attorney, I'd like to hear your opinion on the ongoing saga of President Duterte. These last 2 weeks, Secretary Remulla cited RA 9851, Section 17 as the basis of his arrest using the word surrender. Of course, the other side would say this was illegal because you still need to go through a proper court. So ano po ang opinion natin dyan, Attorney?
Ang opinion ko po dyan sir, ay maling-mali na naman si Secretary Remulla as usual. Alam niyo po, yung sinasite po niyang batas ay isang act of Congress. At nakalagay po roon, at the law, Section 17 uses the word may. And every lawyer worth his salt knows that the word may is directory, not mandatory. Therefore, he should read the entire law. We cannot cherry-pick provisions of the law to support our own views. The entirety of the law says that while you may extradite and surrender any person upon a warrant of the ICC, it should be done within the procedure set by our law. Because the ICC warrant has no force and effect in our country, because we are a sovereign country. There is no such thing as an international warrant. And what is the law on arrests? The law on arrests cannot be found in the law that he is invoking. It can be found in the Constitution. The Constitution is the fundamental law with whose standards all other laws shall be subordinated and must conform. Ano pong nakalagay sa ating saligang batas? No person may be arrested except on the virtue of a warrant issued by a judge of a local court, meaning a court in the Philippines, based on probable cause. And that probable cause should be determined by the judge after personally examining the witnesses of the prosecution and such other evidence as the prosecution may prefer in court, subject to a personal determination of the judge. Absent such a warrant, no arrest, except for the exceptions stated in the rules of court. No arrest can be made, and the arrest of former President Duterte does not fall under any of those exceptions.
So in other words,
mali po yun. That's kidnapping, plain and simple.
So in other words nga po, wrongful arrest ang nangyari po kay former President Rodrigo Duterte, in your opinion?
Opo, in my opinion, not only in my opinion, the opinion of so many other lawyers, who know their law and their constitution, unlike the Secretary of Justice.
Attorney, I'm not sure if you saw yung kanina yung presser ni Attorney Claire Castro together. I think it was Attorney Bontuyan, supposedly an ICC accredited lawyer. He said at the very least, pag humarap daw sa local court si Pangulong Duterte, ang sagaran daw is to just establish his identity, then he could be surrendered to the nation. Ano po ang reaction nyo dyan? Parang sa tanong, are you President Duterte? Yes. O, tapos pwede na daw ipadala.
Ang payo ko po sa kanila, basahin po nila yung extradition law natin, which is still extant, which is Presidential Decree 1069. Basahin po nila yung procedure because the warrant issued by the ICC is for all legal intents and purposes a request for extradition. Ano yung request for extradition? It is a request from the requesting state directed to another state asking that a citizen of that state or any person which can be found in that state which was alleged to have committed a crime be brought before it. But before that, since the Constitution says in the Bill of Rights that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, due process must be accorded to that person. At ano po yung due process na yun? Yung proseso na matatagpuan sa extradition law natin. Yan pong extradition law na yun ay iginawad po yun ng panahon ni Marcos Sr.
Yes,
Kaya hindi ko malaman kung bakit yung batas na ginawa ng kanyang ama ay ayaw galangin ng anak. Palagay ko isang kalapastanganan yun sa kanyang tatay. At least Marcos Sr. knew enough, notwithstanding our accusations of him being a dictator, he knew enough to follow due process when it comes to extradition. Etong gobyernong ito, wala. No due process, brazen violation of the Constitution, walang proseso, basta kukunin ka na lang, dadaling ka sa Hague.
Pero sinabi po ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos na talaga pong hindi po sila nakipag-coordinate sa ICC, pero meron daw po tayong obligation with the Interpol. Your comment on that po?
Lusot po yun. But do not take my word for it. Pwede nyo pong i-google, pwede natin gayahin si Dan Fernandez at mag-google, pwede po nyo tingnan yung website ng Interpol. Ano pong nakalagay sa website mismo ng Interpol? It says there that a red notice is a request. Ano po yung request? Pakiusap. Ang pakiusap po, pwede mong gawin o hindi. Bakit request po? Because, again, our country is a sovereign nation. No other country can impose its will or order us to do something that we do not like to do. Plus, nakalagay din po ron, the Interpol cannot compel any country to comply with a red notice. Ano pa pong nakalagay doon sa website? Very clear po ron. Nakalagay, in the implementation of a red notice, every country uses its own laws in order to implement the red notice. At ano naman, again, ang batas dito, ang batas po natin, hindi pwedeng arestuhin ng walang warrant issued by a local court, and kung ang isang mamamayan natin ay dadalhin sa ibang bansa on extradition, dapat pong dumaan sa proseso ng extradition na under the law, which is our extradition law. Napakaliwanag po noon. Because the duty of every state is to protect its citizen. Yung mga citizens nga po natin sa ibang bansa na inaaresto, convicted na sa droga, sa murder, sinisikap pa natin ibalik dito. Pagkatapos, ang isang dating Pangulo, ibibigay natin sa ibang bansa. Anong klaseng mentalidad ng isang Pangulo yan? Basta ipamimigay mo yung iyong mamamayan. That is not the kind of leadership that we need. That is very weak leadership.
Okay. Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure po. Thank you very much. God bless and have a nice day.
Alright, in other news, authorities are searching for 2 more persons of interest in connection with the murder of a Slovakian woman in Boracay. One of the arrested persons of interest admitted to witnessing the victim's assault. Here's a report.
A 28-year-old person of interest in the robbery and assault of the Slovakian tourist in Boracay has implicated two of his friends, allegedly behind the crime. According to Mick, not his real name, his friends alias Jello and JR took the victim to an abandoned chapel in Barangay Balabag on March 10. Mick claimed he saw them assault and killed the victim.
Ang official po na report ng ating medical examiner po doon ay isang blunt force injuries to the head po. Pinalo po siya sa kanyang ulo at meron pong sign of sexual abuse.
Police confirmed that Mick's account matches forensic findings on how the victim was murdered.
So, halos magkatugma siya dun sir sa sinasabi niya na isa sa mga binanggit niya sir is nakapatong sir dun sa sa biktima natin.
The victim's decomposing body was discovered on March 12, 2 days after she went missing. Authorities are also reviewing CCTV footage that could aid in solving the case. Meanwhile, Mick is not yet off the hook despite naming his accomplices.
Kasi binabalidate natin sir ang truthfulness ng mga sinabi niya rin sir. And then lahat na rin po ng pwede nating ma-exhaust na investigation as to that matter sir is ongoing ngayon sir.
Mick was taken into police custody after being arrested in an anti-drug operation on March 14. A reward of 100,000 pesos is being offered for information leading to the persons of interest.
The House Tri-Committee will hold its third public hearing today. For updates, we have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Merimon?
Merimon, go ahead.
Magandang umaga sa inyo. Kasi simula lang ng ikatlong House Tri-Committee hearing patungkol sa pagkalat ng fake news at disinformation. At binubuo ito ng House Committee on Public Order and Safety, Information, Communications Technology, and Public Information. And so far, kung babalikan natin, yung huling pagdinig na pag-usapan dito yung tax laws, even yung monetizing schemes, kung saan na merong naging representative from Google at ibinahagi nito yung kanilang parang filtering system para masiguro yung quality content na nilalabas online. Nag-issue ng subpoena ang TRICOM doon sa mga social media personalities and content creators na hindi dumalo for the second time. Pero ang justification ng mga ito ay inaabangan o hinihintay pa raw nila yung guidance ng Supreme Court tungkol doon sa i-final nila na petition for certiorari and prohibition. Kaya wala sila doon. Pero ngayong araw na ito, meron tayong nakita na pumunta na dahil ang nasabi nga dito ng panel, posibleng humarap sa maghumarap sa contempt at detention itong mga ito. Pero ang nakita na natin kanina na pumunta ay si Attorney Trixie Angeles, ang former Presidential Communications Office Secretary. Kasabay nito, mula naman sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno, nandito si CIDG Chief, Police Major General Nicolas Torre, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, at COMELEC spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco. Inaasahan din natin na mamaya ay sana magkaroon ng araw ng representative mula sa Meta for Facebook at ByteDance for TikTok. Dahil last time ang nasabi ng Meta kaya hindi raw sila nakapunta, dahil hindi raw sila pwedeng maimbitahan na dahil sila ay nakabase sa Amerika. Pero ang nasabi ng House dito o ng TRICOM, maaari naman daw silang magpadala ng representative mula sa opisina nito dito sa Pilipinas. Samantala, para naman sa ByteDance na may-ari ng TikTok, last time meron lang daw silang scheduling conflict dahil meron silang isang commitment sa ibang bansa. Pero mamaya ay titingnan natin kung meron na silang representative na naipadala para magbigay din ng insights and statistics tungkol sa mga gumagamit ng social media. Doon din naman sa mga government agencies na inimbitahan dito, plus mga representatives or resource persons mula sa academe, mula sa media, mga independent media outfits, magbibigay din sila ng kanilang insights at mga na may kinalaman pagdating doon sa prevalency ng fake news at kung ano pa bang regulations ang magagawa para malabanan ito. Balik sa inyo.
Nagsalita na ba si Merimon, si Attorney Trixie Angeles, and meron ba siyang nabanggit na meron pang ibang pupunta mula dun sa Hanay na supposedly ayaw talaga pumunta dyan sa hearing na yan?
So far, ilang minuto pa lang yung lumilipas simula nung nagsimula itong TRICOM hearing at nag-opening statement pa lang itong si Representative Johnny Pimentel na sinasabing itong pagpapatuloy nga ng pagdinig ay para maituwid na kung ano na nga bang measures ang magagawa natin para raw hindi ma-curtail ang freedom of expression and speech but rather para makabuo ng guidelines sa tama at responsible na paggamit sa social media. So sa mga susunod na bahagi pa ng hearing natin maririnig itong sina Attorney Trixie Angeles plus yung iba pang resource persons.
Alright, sige. Makikibalita na lang ulit kami sa iyo dyan. Mary Monreyes, ang ating mobile journal live sa Congress, sa House of Representatives. Okay, kasi timely din tong committee
Dami.
nito dahil nga after nung pag-aresto kay former President Rodrigo Duterte, ang dami naglabasan ng mga iba't ibang mga fake news, no?
Oo.
Na kailangan
Even
talagang
about the
i-verify
yung
pa
pag-release ng
sa
TRO, no?
Supreme Court. Okay, the House Strike Committee's hearing on disinformation online has just started. Let's listen in.
Comsec, please administer the oath.
Those who are attending for the first time, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this inquiry? Please respond with I do. Thank you. Please take your seat.
Do we now have the video presentation? Can we now present the video, Comsec?
Chair, Mr. Chair, if the video is not yet ready, I have a ready short video. It's only about 40 to 45 minutes. Seconds.
Hindi, yan yata eh.
Seconds.
Hindi, pagbigay, unahin na muna natin to.
Okay.
Because this is the committee presentation. Ano ba ang problema? Do we have the presentation of Senator Marcoleta?
45 seconds.
45 seconds or 45 minutes?
Seconds.
What is the content of the video?
It's about providing context to what Chair Jobo Aquino said, false narratives and false information.
Ano bang pwedeng ready dyan? What video is ready? Yung kay Marcoleta o yung sa presentation natin? May problema yung presentation natin. Okay na ba?
Ito.
Anyway, while they are preparing the presentations, the discussions on this hearing will be focused on several issues. One, vloggers. Two, social media platforms, platform policies and enforcement, algorithms and content moderation, fact-checking program, process of taking down posts, advertising and monetization. Number three, independent media organizations, involvement in fact-checking initiatives like Check.Philippines, database of fake posts and peddlers, engagement with the public, key insights and experience. And the government agencies, if they will have any presentation or statement, NBI, DICT, BIR, AMLAC, PNP, COMELEC, and PCO, of course. And number five, I don't know if we have celebrities here, but celebrities who are victims of fake news, and then afterwards we'll proceed to the interpellation. Okay na ba ang presentation?
Mr. Chair,
Representative Abante.
if we don't have the presentation yet, I don't think that we have already recognized all of the resource speakers. We would like to ask that all of them be recognized today.
Is there anyone from the resource persons that have not been acknowledged? Yeah, can you take the microphone and then introduce yourself, please?
Magandang umaga po. Ako po si Mary Jean Kiambao Reyes or MJ Kiambao po sa Facebook.
Good morning po, Mr. Chair. Si Aaron Peña po, Old School Pinoy po. Thank you po.
Meron pa bang iba? Wala na?
Rina Seco po for Manila Broadcasting Company.
Okay. Yes. Please recognize yourself.
Mark Gamboa po.
From?
Vlogger po.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I remember also the committee committed during the last hearing that I attended that we will also invite representatives from Philippine Inquirer and Philippine Star because of the issue that I raised. I raised then the issue that we are not only concerned with the fake news and the false narratives and false information being peddled in our society, but we are concerned as well with the truth that are being suppressed, truth that might have given enlightenment and further information for our people, but they were deliberately and intentionally being suppressed for reasons that they themselves know. This is also alarming as well, Mr. Chair. So I was promised by the committee last time that in the next hearing, representatives from these two giant broadsheets will also be invited to shed light on the
Representative
information that they
Marcoleta,
share.
according to the COMSEC, the representatives from Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star
Yes, Mr. Chair.
were present during the last hearing. However, accordingly, there were no members who asked questions to them. So, is there any representative from Inquirer and Philippine Star at the moment? Wala. So then maybe we can invite them next time. We did not include them anymore today because they were already present during the last hearing.
Does that follow, Mr. Chair, that because nobody questioned them in the last hearing, they can simply absent themselves today?
We required them to attend the last hearing. And now we have invited other resource persons. May I inquire from the COMSEC, were they invited today so that we will be fair? According to COMSEC, Congressman Marcoleta, the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star were not invited.
So we know the reason why they were not invited today, Madam Chair. The COMSEC has the liberty to decide on this, or the chairperson are the ones who are authorized to decide on whether to invite people or not.
Kong Marcoleta, you know the process. For every hearing, we have a set of resource persons to be invited.
I know that, Mr. Chair.
Yun
But
ang
what I'm saying is there was a commitment.
It is already very clear that they were not invited today because, to be fair with them, they were present during the last hearing and nobody asked questions. Kaya nga, hindi na sila inibita because we are focusing on other resource persons.
Kaya nga po, yun ang gusto kong itanong.
If that would be the case, if you would like to really insist, then we will invite them. Or if you want, if you can wait, we will call them and have them come here to send a representative. But let's not make this an issue. This will delay the hearing.
I am
Concept,
not
can you
making
please,
this an issue, Mr. Chair. I am
please-
simply asking kung sakali pong hindi sila
Hindi nga natin
natanong.
na-imbita, Congressman Marcoleta. I'm
Yun nga
sorry
po,
to
why
say.
would the COMSEC decide by themselves? Sana po yung chair ang magdi-decide. Yun lang naman po ang punto. The COMSEC cannot decide on who to invite or who cannot be invited. And chair po ang may prerogative.
It was a prerogative of the chairman not to invite them because they were not asked questions already. In fairness to them, they were diligent in attending the previous hearing, but unfortunately, nobody asked them a question. So it would be redundant to ask them to be present here again. So let me now proceed, Mr. Marcoleta.
Very quickly lang, I'd like to thank
Buddha's
si Belly for these yummy treats from si Marjorie Tan. Of course, our favorites. But with that, you're still watching us here on News and Views. All right, the Quezon City LGU gives updates about its calorie count ordinance at the Healthy City Summit in Paris, France. One News' Jovi Francisco reports.
The summit's host city showed delegates how Paris, France is working on making their communities healthier and safer. Paris has become even more walkable with pollution detectors monitoring the quality of air in the city. And the cleanup of the River Seine continues.
for me, it was an obsession, you know. I wanted to transform the city, and I am very committed with ecological policies. We need to accelerate the transformation about bicycle lines, mobility, about cleaning the river Seine. It was so important for us to adapt the city to the climate change.
The Healthy Cities Summit serves as an opportunity for the partnership's 74 member cities to share the developments in their programs that prevent non-communicable diseases and injuries. Team Quezon City of the Philippines gave updates about its calorie count ordinance. Phase 1 starts on December after the IRR was released last year.
Nakakatuwa kasi kahit yung small, yung mga exempted sa yung mga small, medium enterprises ay nag-uumpisa ng magsubok maglagay. Yung maliliit na stores ng coffee shops, nakita na namin na merong naglalagay na sila ng calorie labeling. Hindi sila yung una, hindi sila yung phase 1, pero trying na to at least have calorie labels sa kanilang menu.
An official of the World Health Organization is optimistic about the programs of cities from Southeast Asia.
And we have a very strong collaboration both with Bangkok and Manila on all of these issues. Of course, they are mega cities, large populations, very diverse, big inequality. So it is not like you can change things overnight, but there are solid approaches taking place in both of these cities and in many other cities in the region.
This year, Cordoba, Argentina, Fortaleza, Brazil, and Greater Manchester, UK were recognized for policies that save many lives.
And I want to thank the teams of those cities and everyone here for the work you do every day. It really is helping to save and improve an awful lot of lives. And even with everything going on in the world, that should put a smile on your face.
Reporting from Paris, France, Jovi Francisco, we are One News.
Well, that caps off another week of news and views. So, di ba?
Oo. Yun nga sinabi ko kanina, 1 week na si Pangulong Duterte. Former President Duterte since the arrest.
Di ba second week na ito?
This is the first, kumbaga 1 week niya ngayon. Last Friday tayo nun nag-annotate tayo ng live, remember?
Kala ko Monday last week yun.
No,
okay,
Friday yun.
Right. Anyway, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote that hopefully will help you get through the weekend. The quote goes, "Yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today. Let us begin." A quote from Mother Teresa. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again on Monday. I'm Angelo Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.